Hello, Miss Thinker here, your daily source for mind-blowing facts, forgotten history, and powerful motivation. Today, I will talk about why space smells like burnt metal. Have you ever wondered what space smells like? It sounds like a trick question, right? Space is a vacuum, a near-perfect void. So how could it possibly have a smell? Well, strap in, because the answer is way cooler and weirder than you might think. Astronauts who have ventured into the great unknown consistently report a very distinct, very peculiar scent clinging to their suits and equipment after a spacewalk. And it's not the smell of recycled air or freeze-dried ice cream. So what is this phantom smell of the cosmos? Many astronauts describe it as a metallic odor, something like seared steak, hot metal, or even welding fumes. Think of the smell of a spent firework or the acrid tang in the air after a lightning strike. That's the smell of space. Astronaut Dom Pettit poetically described it as a rather pleasant, sweet metallic sensation. Others, like three-time spacewalker Thomas Jones, compared it to ozone, that sharp scent you sometimes notice after a thunderstorm. But how is this possible? Smell requires molecules to enter our nose, and space is famously empty. The key here is that astronauts aren't smelling space while they're actually asterisk it. They re-smelling it once they reach back inside the safety of the International Space Station or their spacecraft. When they step out into the void, tiny particles from the space environment cling to the fabric of their suits, their tools, and anything else exposed to the vacuum. When they re-enter the airlock and repressurize it, these hitchhiking molecules are released into the cabin's air, and for the first time they can be smelled. So it's not the vacuum itself that has a scent, but the stuff floating within it. And what is this stuff? Let's break down the cosmic recipe. One of the main ingredients is something called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs for short. Don't let the long name intimidate you. These are very common molecules found all over the universe. You can find them in coal, oil, and even in grilled food right here on Earth. They're formed in the dying embers of stars and drift through interstellar space. These PAHs are literally the soot of the universe, and they are everywhere. When they get on an astronaut suit and are brought inside, they contribute to that smoky, seared steak kind of aroma. Another major contributor is atomic oxygen. Here on Earth, the oxygen we breathe is O2, two oxygen atoms bonded together. But in the low Earth orbit where the ISS flies, intense ultraviolet radiation from the sun splits these O2 molecules apart, creating single, highly reactive oxygen atoms. This is atomic oxygen. It's incredibly aggressive and latches onto surfaces like spacesuits and equipment. When it enters the airlock, it can combine with other molecules, creating that sharp, ozone-like smell. It's the same reaction that happens during a lightning storm, which also creates ozone. And let's not forget the hot metal part of the smell. This likely comes from vibrations. Not sound vibrations, but the energy from high-velocity impacts of micrometeoroids or orbital debris. Even tiny particles moving at thousands of miles per hour carry a lot of energy. When they strike a surface, they can create a tiny, momentary burst of heat, vaporizing a bit of metal or other material. This creates a metallic vapor that can also cling to an astronaut's suit. It's essentially the smell of super fast, super tiny welding projects happening all over the spacecraft. So the smell of space is a complex cocktail. It's a mixture of ancient stardust in the form of PAHs, reactive atomic oxygen created by our own sun, and the faint metallic tang of high-energy impacts. It's the universe's signature scent, a combination of the very old and the very new, the burnt and the electric. But the story of space smells doesn't end there. Different parts of the solar system might have their own unique aromas. For example, if we could smell the atmosphere of other planets or moons, what would we find? Let's take a quick sensory tour. Mars would likely smell metallic and dusty, with a hint of sulfur from its rocks. Venus, with its thick clouds of sulfuric acid, would be an assault on the senses, smelling intensely of rotten eggs. Not a pleasant destination for your nose. Jupiter and Saturn, the gas giants, would also have a strong smell of ammonia, a bit like a powerful cleaning product mixed with the rotten egg scent of hydrogen sulfide. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, is a really interesting case. It has a thick, nitrogen-rich atmosphere with methane and other hydrocarbons. Scientists believe it would smell a bit like a gas station, a strong scent of gasoline or petroleum. Uranus and Neptune would have a similar pungent ammonia and hydrogen sulfide profile. And what about comets? As they get closer to the sun and heat up, they release gases. Missions like Rosetta have found they are a mix of rotten eggs from hydrogen sulfide, horse stable smell from ammonia, and the bitter almond scent of hydrogen cyanide. A truly unique and probably unpleasant cosmic potpourri. It's fascinating to think that every corner of our universe has its own distinct chemical signature, its own scent. For now, the only one humans have directly experienced is the burnt metal and ozone aroma of our own orbital backyard. It's the smell of adventure, the perfume of the final frontier. It's a powerful reminder that even in the vast emptiness of space, there are subtle clues telling the story of the cosmos, waiting to be discovered by our senses. The next time you see a shooting star or smell the air after a thunderstorm, you can think of it as a tiny whiff of what it might be like out there. It's the scent of dying stars, powerful radiation, and the endless dance of molecules across the void. And it's a smell that, for a few lucky astronauts, becomes an unforgettable memory of their journey beyond our world. So the next time someone asks if space has a smell, you can tell them yes, it absolutely does. It smells like a barbecue, a thunderstorm, and a metal shop all rolled into one. And that is just awesome. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the smell of space. Ever wondered what space sounds like? You might think it's just silent, and you're mostly right. Since space is a vacuum, there's no air for sound waves to travel through. But that doesn't mean the universe is completely quiet. Scientists have a clever trick called data sonification. They take the electromagnetic waves and radio signals emitted by planets, stars, and even black holes, and convert them into frequencies our ears can actually hear. The results are incredible, haunting, eerie sounds that seem to echo from the deepest corners of the cosmos. It's like listening to the secret music of the universe, a soundtrack composed by the stars themselves. Now, let's talk about taste. Imagine eating your favorite meal, but it tastes bland and uninteresting. That's a common experience for astronauts in orbit. It's not the food's fault. It's their bodies. In microgravity, fluids in the body shift upwards, causing a stuffy nose sensation much like having a bad cold. This congestion blocks their sense of smell, which is a huge part of how we perceive flavor. To combat this cosmic blandness, astronauts often crave intensely flavorful foods. That's why you'll see them reaching for hot sauce, mustard, and spicy dishes. They need that extra kick just to make their food taste normal again. It's not just sound and taste that get weird in space. Nearly all of our senses are thrown for a loop. Vision can be affected too. The same fluid shift that dulls taste can increase pressure on the back of the eyes and the optic nerve, sometimes leading to changes in eyesight. And what about your sense of balance? On Earth, gravity constantly tells our bodies which way is down. In space, that signal is gone. Astronauts often feel disoriented at first, as their brains struggle to understand where their limbs are without the familiar pull of gravity. It takes time for the body and brain to recalibrate to this strange floating new reality. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow for more amazing space facts. And ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the mysteries of the universe. What topics do you want us to explore next? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time!